So I found out about PRS Guitars via one of my favourite bands, my favourite guitarist, Mark Tremonti. I saw, well, and Miles Kennedy from Alter Bridge. I saw they were using PRS guitars and I was instantly hooked by the bird inlays, of course. And, you know, after that point I kind of, you know, went to a few music shops and tried out some PRS guitars, and after that, like, it was a no-brainer. I knew that I felt really comfortable with them, and I would say that my first SE, my Tremonti Signature, of course, like, was my first proper guitar, and after that point was when I started to take guitar really seriously and really started making some progress with it. And yeah, I just knew as soon as I kind of got my hands on one that they just felt so right, and I hadn't had that before with a brand, and I haven't had that ever since. You know, nothing really beats it, so. Yeah. So, this is a funny story. It's becoming, you know, people are kind of associating me with this movie now, I guess, because it was such had an impact on me as a kid. But I basically watched School of Rock with Jack Black, of course, when I was, I think I was like 5, and after that point I was like, I want to be a rock star. That was just it. It had just been decided, and yeah, like, so I was always like raised around music. My dad played keyboards, and like my mum played literally the tiniest bit of guitar. But like it wasn't really any bands or anything like that started it for me. It was the movie School of Rock. Everything about it. I have not found another guitar that I resonate more with. Like, it just feels perfect in my hands. Like, I love so many things about it. Obviously, it's got flame maple neck, which I really like. It's super kind of elegant. I think that's one of the huge things I love about PRS, is just how elegant they are, and lightweight, and they're just so perfect. I literally can't, you know, describe it other than that. It just feels so lovely to play. It's just so smooth to play. Like, it's never, I've had guitars in the past that have, you know, I've had to fight for it, I guess. Like, you know, once you start playing after a few hours, you're gonna tire yourself out, and with this I can just play like limitlessly for hours and I won't get tired, and I'll always enjoy it. So just like pure love. Pure love. Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think it's really having the acceptance that you can never learn enough, and you should always use that as your motivation, really, that you can always learn something from somebody, from anybody, or from something. And if anything, it actually drives me to be more motivated and more focused, and I've always been on that mindset, you know, ever since I was kind of like maybe 12 or something like that, that I want to be inspired and be motivated by a certain piece of music or a certain person, a certain musician, take that in my stride and use it as a sort of goal to hit, and then those goals just keep going, really. So rather than having it as something that's demotivating, I try and turn it into motivation instead. Oh, my favourite solo to play. I mean, this changes all the time, but of course we just lost Eddie Van Halen, and Solo Beat It is one of the best and most fun solos like I've ever learned and ever played. Every time I play that solo, I just have so much joy, and like, he just wrote and played in such a fun style and really inspiring. So every time, you know, I sit down and play that solo, and there's obviously a lot of cool different techniques in there as well. That, yeah, it's probably one of the most fun solos I've played. Okay, so yeah, Tranquility. I started writing it actually in October 2019, after I'd seen Pliny live, supporting Periphery on the UK European tour that they did last year. And I was just so unbelievably inspired by that. I was watching it live and I was like, oh man, like, this is some next level stuff, like really great. And I'm really inspired by that style of music in general. Like, yeah, it's just great. So I came home the next day, and then that's when I first came up with the opening sort of intro to Tranquility. And it took me a long time to get that song to the point where I was like happy with it. I pulled it apart and rearranged it like maybe 3 or 4 times before I was actually in a place where I was like, this is a song. This could pass as a song. So yeah, and once I kind of finally got all the writing bits together, so when I got some friends sort of involved. I had a good friend of mine, two good friends of mine, Rich and John from the Fallen State, who I met like they were supporting Tremonti a few years ago, and we got talking after the show, and I stood in for their poorly guitarist last year, Dan, when he was unwell, and I played a show with him, so I made some really great contacts through that. Anyway, me, John and Rich I went to them and I was like, do you guys want to like help? I need help with this. And so Rich laid down some drums on it, which was really great. My programming skills just weren't cutting it. I knew it would sound so much better with a real drummer on it, and John produced the drums alongside Rich. Once that all came together, my brother mixed and mastered it for me because he's a very lovely brother, very, very supportive. Filmed the video with a friend, and then yeah, got released. So it took me a while to get there. And I think a lot of it was because this is my first original track. It's difficult to like know like what you want your first sort of step to be with that, and I debated not even releasing it because I thought that it wasn't good enough, and I was like, is this the vibe that like I want to, you know, show people? Is this what I am? Like, I'm having a bit of an identity crisis, still am. But I kind of came to the decision that like it's fine to, you know, release stuff and then have a progression and be a totally different artist 10 years later. I'm still young. Like, people, you know, who write music when they're 20 sound completely different to when they're 40. And I said, you know, like I've got to release something, I really want to release something, and I've got to make a start with that somewhere. So even though I'm not, you know, there's 100 things I would do differently next time, I'm happy that it's finally out there. I'm Sophie Burrell, and you can listen to Tranquility pretty much everywhere: Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, and watch the music video on YouTube. Thank you.